The savanna is 100% one of the worst biomes to build in, at least when you're trying to build beautiful gardens and make things look nice and alive. I even have a resource pack which makes this even more green than it is normally, which you can see now does make a little bit of a difference, but there is still a huge problem. This thing is dreadful, even with that resource pack turned on. You can even see a very clear line between where it goes from savanna to a forest, and you can see the difference in the green very dramatically. It is very obvious that the green on this side is so much better than the green on this side. So I'm going to try and fix that. There's not much we can do in terms of changing the color of the grass, but there are some blocks that are not affected by the savanna biome, which I have one of in my inventory. So if I go ahead and place one of these moss blocks down in the savanna biome, you can see it's still green. I'll turn off the resource pack so you can see it more clearly. This is green and this is dead. So it works. And that is obviously not all. Obviously you can see these leaves are very dark and dead, but there are a few leaves that do work inside the savanna. One of which being a spruce leaf, which if we quickly place this down, you can see it's still nice and luscious. And of course, azalea leaves do work in the savanna as well. Now, this savanna biome is absolutely enormous. So the first thing that I need to do is split it up between the forest and the savanna, because we can't just have it change just like this. This looks so weird. I mean, half this tree is green and the other half is orange. Like, what even is going on here? This is not normal. So my plan to fix this up, this horrendous barrier between the two biomes, is to create a river that flows all the way through the middle of the two biomes. This will make it look like a much more seamless transition and allow us to cover up the ugliness a lot easier. Now, obviously, this land is very rugged, so there's a lot of kind of terraforming that we're going to need to do to get this started. So, of course, I'm going to start kind of over here, where the river is going to flow down here and then out to the side here. So, I guess we'll just start right at the very beginning. So, this is where the river is going to split off to the side, flow down like a kind of waterfall, and then out to the side over there. So, we have to find roughly the middle where it goes from savanna to forest, which will probably be about here, and we have to decide how wide it's going to be. So I think 5 blocks should be good. On this side, you can see it's very clearly the savanna biome now, and on this side, it is very clearly the forest. So 5 blocks right here is going to be pretty bang on. Now, let me remove a couple of these trees just to give us a little bit more space to work with, just so we can get the design of it down packed before we start expanding it any further, because we want to make sure that it looks good. So this should be enough space for now. Let's just go ahead and dig the land down so it's a little bit easier to work with. Now I've dug this area down a little bit more so you can kind of see very clearly. On the right hand side we've got the forest biome grass, and on the left we've got the savanna. Now this is where roughly the river is going to flow, and as we come over it's going to wrap to the right. Now I do need to level this land on this side a little bit more just so we can get a better idea of how it's going to look on the sides of the river, which is going to be the most important thing. We want to make sure that the transition is as seamless as possible. I have enormous plans for this entire savanna biome. I am going to be building the most epic area that you have ever seen. Far more epic and large scale than anything we've built so far in this world. But in order to do that, we need to get the groundwork laid down first, and the most important of that being this river, because this river is going to be the clear dividing range between the two biomes and two styles of building that we're going to be incorporating, between the style that we use pretty much everywhere else in the world and the new style that I'm going to be attempting to try. Now, I'm intentionally going to not be using any torches so that we get some mobs to spawn, because I'm running pretty low on gunpowder and bones, and we need both of those things. But in terms of the width of this river, I think 5 blocks is definitely not going to cut it. But at least we know that 5 blocks is going to be enough to separate the two types of grass, because there is a slight transition. You can see it doesn't just magically change, it slowly fades into the new biome. You can see this is very green, this is kind of green, and then that is whatever color that is. So I think I might need a little bit more space to work with to really see how this thing's going to turn out, maybe even just past where it starts to curve, which is roughly over here. Yeah, pretty much here. So let's get rid of these guys here. Let me try and heal up my shovel a little bit because it's pretty much dead. And I don't really want to go for a trip to the end right now. Oh, I hate these little fellas. They're so pesky. Get out of here, mate. Oh, another one. Come on, mate. Give me yo gunpowder, my boy. Oh, he's got a shovel. He's trying to help out, but no, he's not helping out the right way. Get out of here, mate. There's so many creepers nearby. I might as well just try and take a couple of them. Why not? We need the... Oh, okay, that guy sacrificed himself to the gods. But I don't mind taking a couple of these bones too. So I think the best thing to do would be to kind of map out exactly where this transition takes place with the 5 block kind of radius that we have already got and follow this all the way around, just trying to match exactly where this grass is changing, which is a little bit harder than I was kind of expecting it to be. It doesn't really follow a very straight line. It's very jagged. So let me delete these trees real quick and let me quickly chuck down a shulker box because I do want to collect all this stuff. All right, I've cleared a couple of the trees. Now we can much more easily kind of figure out where this transition is occurring. And just dig it out and get a kind of rough estimate for where this river should flow. Oh, more days. What's going on here? I keep trying to put my shovel in my offhand to make sure I get that mending, getting some more durability for us, because I know for sure I'm going to need it. There's going to be a lot of digging. Now, this obviously doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be a lot wider than what the river is. We're going to have moss on both sides. Oh my days. Now, if you're new here, we do not skip the nights. We fight every night out. But we do use a bed to just clear the insomnia because these guys are super annoying. So if you sleep for a literal second, it clears the insomnia and stops them from spawning. I do have to get rid of them because they're already spawned, but at least for another, I think it's roughly 5 days they come, but I could be wrong. I don't actually know that number. That's just from what I've experienced. Roughly every 5 days I have to have a quick nap, which gets a little annoying, but it is what it is. Just such a unnecessary part of the game. Anyway, I'm going to dig this probably roughly to where those trees are there, because that's kind of where we've sectioned off already. Just like this, and you can see this is kind of the edge where the biome becomes a savanna. So now I'll go over here and pretty much just fatten this up a little bit, make this a little bit more smooth because there's some sharp bits in there. So let me smooth it out a little bit without being attacked. Come on, guys. I'm trying to do a demonstration. But maybe it's not too bad. Maybe you don't need to do too much. You know, we'll keep that. We'll keep the natural biome curvature, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Death by falling. That's embarrassing. Could never be me. Okay, let's just fatten this up. Roughly 5 or so blocks wide. I think that's going to be sufficient for now. I don't actually know how wide the river's going to be. I'm pretty sure we're going to have it a bit wider because 5 blocks just seems not wide enough. I want this to be like a main river with other rivers kind of detaching off it and heading in their own way. Just smaller rivers, of course. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's have a look at that from the sky. You can see the river's going to follow here, and yeah, it's pretty rough right now, but we're going to fix that up, of course. At least we have an idea of where this river's going to be going. Now, I do need to quickly get this land down a little bit lower, get the natural gradient a little bit better. So let's just dig that down. Probably about how wide we've got it on this side is going to be perfect for now. So we'll dig down this side pretty much all the way up to the edge where we've got anyway. And then on this side, we'll dig a couple blocks on that side. And that should give us a good little area to work with. So I guess enjoy the time lapse. So now I've got this kind of a little bit more manageable. The area is leveled down a bit better. I've kind of fixed this up here because it was very straight, and it is now very obvious where this river is going to flow through. So I guess the next thing to do would be to kind of dig this down a little bit. Let me empty my inventory. I've already filled up so many shulker boxes. We have 3 left, but I'm making sure to collect everything because I know how many blocks we've been using recently, and I know how many we're going to need in the future. So I want to grab up all of this sand. Well, maybe not that much. That's a little bit too much. It's a good thing we haven't moved any of this stuff yet because I'm going to be using a whole lot of sand. And let me quickly just dig my way back up. Now, what I want to do, I want this to be roughly 3 or 4 blocks deep in the middle. So let's say about this. Just dig it all the way to the edge. You know what? Let's make it 4. Let's make this very deep. So I'm just going to dig roughly 2 to 3 blocks through the middle of what we've already dug out just to make it the kind of middlemost part of the river. And we'll just go up to where the gradient goes up by 1. So roughly about here. Now just shape it up a little bit better. Honestly, I think this is pretty good. So now this bottom block, I'm going to go ahead and replace it all with sand. I'll just remove 1 more block underneath and fill it all in with sand just so we can kind of get a better idea and visual kind of representation of where the bottom of this riverbed is going to be. Because with stone everywhere, it's kind of hard to see it. So the sand's going to help us do that very easily. Now, I'm going to just kind of briefly start this part here just so I can go ahead and get some sand in here as well. I guess we'll go a couple blocks more. There, that'll be good, just so we can kind of see how it's going to look as the gradient goes up a little bit. Okay, so now that's the very bottommost part of the river done. The next thing is to dig out one more block further, kind of just like this, and kind of plan how we want this next bit to go up. Now, seeing this, we're definitely going to need to make the river wider than 5 blocks, which I kind of knew was going to happen anyway, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty wide river, which is fine. We want it to be a very obvious focal point. Let me dig this a little bit more. There's going to be a little bit of building here and there, building up, so it's not going to be exactly as we dig it out. I'll do the same thing as we go up 1 block as well, kind of just like this. Then I just got to remove this bottom block and replace it all with sand. And now I've just got to do that a couple more times until we get right up to the side of the grass. So you can see this river is definitely going to be a big one, and it's going to rip right through the middle of both of these biomes and give us a nice dividing range between the two. But the river is only the first part. We got to do the sides of it too, which is my favorite part. I'm so excited to get this looking good. I've been a bit worried about doing this entire project because of how different it is from anything I've done before. So I have no idea if it's even going to work out well, but I am going to do my best to make it look as good as I possibly can. And seeing it kind of slowly come together today, at least with the river, is going to be very good to see. So this is where it's going to kind of meet up here. So obviously it goes from sand to grass. It's not going to stay grass, of course, but for now it will, just so we can see the edge more clearly. So now we've got something that looks like this. And if we look at it from the sky, we can see it is kind of looking like a river. Obviously, it's just sand right now, and there's still a lot to do, but it is very obvious. On the left-hand side, we've got the savanna grass. On the right-hand side, we've got the beautiful green forest grass. So how do we make it look the same? That's where this moss block is going to come in. So if I place it in here and I bone meal it, it's going to grow all this beautiful stuff. But you can see it changes the grass into moss blocks. So if I just bone meal this all the way through, let me make a bit more bone meal, of course, we're going to end up with something that looks like this. Now, let me quickly remove all the stuff on top because we're going to do our own detailing. I mean, getting these azalea bushes isn't going to be too much of a bad thing either, though. I do like to use them when detailing, but there is a lot of moss carpet here, which I don't really want to be there. I think it's slightly weird, but there we go. Now you can see it is much better. Obviously, here's the normal grass and here's the moss block, so it's not a perfect green, but it does look a lot closer, and it's obviously not got that orange tang to it. Now obviously I have to do the exact same thing on this side as well, so I'll place in a moss block and just spawn a bunch of it in just along the edge here. So now if we look at this from the sky, you can see we've got the same color on both sides, even though this side is a completely different biome to this side. Now I know it still looks weird because, you know, even this transition here is very obvious, but it's not going to be as obvious once we get some more details in here. Now the first and most important thing, I guess, is of course going to be getting the water in. So let me go ahead and create a barrier just so it doesn't flow everywhere, just out of dirt, because like I said, I want to make sure that we get this thing looking good before we start expanding it further. I want to make sure we know exactly what we're going to be doing. I think I'm going to need to make it the same height on both sides. My bad. Let's fix that up. There we go. Okay, so now we've got this barrier in here. I just need to go and get some water, which is as easy as that, and go back and just start filling this in. Now the way we do this, if you haven't seen before, we just got to fill in the entire bottom block, and then this will turn the water into a full block or an infinite water source. And as long as the bottom block is a infinite water source, you can create an infinite water source on the block above. So simply just spamming the water in like this along the first block until it's all a full block, and then doing the exact same thing on the next level. This is how you can very easily fill in areas of water without having any of it flowing. It is very quick and very easy to do. I will also create a very quick natural barrier here out of dirt just to be able to stop the water from flowing that way once we start digging that way. And finally right up to the top, and there we go. That is how easy it is to fill in an area with water. I guess I got to do this part as well. Hold on a second. There we go. Put in a bit of moss to shape it up a bit better. All right. Happy as Larry. Now that's looking a whole lot better. So for the details on the side, I'm of course going to have some trees in here. Nothing too crazy, just kind of simple trees. Some buttons along the moss is going to be nice for some extra detail. Looks like just a couple stones kind of hanging around. The flowering azaleas and the regular azaleas that we broke before, putting these in are going to be a nice little flower in there. Now let me head to the chests down here and see what we've got. Nothing. So let me head back to the main chests and we'll grab up a bunch of stuff that we've got in there, which I think we'll be able to use to really decorate that area. I'm thinking some cherry saplings, some cornflowers, maybe some pink petals, of course a rose bush, potentially some bamboo, a peony, definitely some sugarcane, some string to stop them from growing too tall. Come on, some sweet berries. berries, of course. And I think for now, that's going to be sweet. So let's head back and we're going to try and incorporate all those things into that area and see what we can come up with. You can kind of see the area already developing. Let me get a better angle because you can't see it because of that big hill in the way. Okay, you can see that river looks so nice in there. That blue is really going to be a nice barrier between the two biomes. And once we get the details in here, it's going to be hard to tell the difference between the grass and the moss on both sides, of course. But let's start by getting in some sugarcane. I hope the sugarcane stays the same color. I don't need string if it's 3 high. So it's very bright green over there. Is it still bright green over here? Oh, not really. It does change color, but it's not a huge difference. So we got some cane. Let's add in a couple sticks of bamboo. The bamboo definitely stays green, which is nice. So we'll add kind of bits like this where it's 3 sticks. Now let's get some pink petals in here. I'm trying to do it around some of these like flowers and trees. I think that makes the most amount of sense. So they're not just randomly in here. There's a little bit of reasoning, I guess. Now the cherry saplings, of course. I like to use these as like a type of flower. It's just a very bright flower. Bright pink, I guess. Now let's get some nice bright red in here. I do not have any bone meal. Let me grab some of that. This red is going to be such a nice pop of color. I'm going to try and place them near the trees, kind of like this. And then sweet berries. Come on, sweet berries are easy. I'm going to try and put them in like clumps. I think that'll look nice. I'm not sure. Quite frankly, I have no idea. Just like this. We can't really tell until they fully grow. But some blue, some cornflowers as well. I'm going to try and add quite a bit of this because they're small flowers and the blue is going to be very nice. Undoubtedly. Because it's the only kind of different color in there apart from the red. But the red flowers are very big. So kind of just like this. I think we might be going a little bit overboard. We might need to get rid of a little bit of it. But I think adding in some gray, like some boulders, is going to be a really nice way to kind of break it up a little bit. Wow, there's a lot going on over here. Let me just put in a boulder. There we go. But if we look at that, obviously there's no leaves on the trees yet. So I think that's going to really make it a little bit better because it's very open right now. But I'm kind of liking this. Now, of course, through the middle, I'm going to go ahead and add in some seagrass. Just like that, a little bit. Not too much. Maybe one more there. Delete a couple. Okay, that's nice. Definitely need some over here too. Obviously, this big ass mountain on the side here needs to be dug down a little bit more because it's not very wide on this side. And I'm going to be building like roads as well and some other things that are going to kind of run around and through this river. But I think this is looking nice. I like this kind of style that we've got and I think we're good to start expanding it. Now I want to only expand it to about here because this is where the map ends and I'm trying to fill in the entire map before day 1000. Now this is the map that I'm talking about. You can see it is a very big map and we're working down here. So of course the river is running kind of through here and it's going to curve up into the bottom left, which is going to run outside of the map. But eventually I do want another river kind of running through here and connecting up to this river here. So we're going to be building this river all the way down here and then eventually another river will run through here with huge farmlands around it. But this project is going to be absolutely enormous. In fact, it could potentially be even bigger than everything we've built so far. Although it might not seem like it because obviously we're only just starting. Why is a creeper on top of my tree? Get out of here, man. But yeah, it might not seem like it because obviously the river is only just starting, but this river is going to have to run all the way through to here at least. And that's pretty big. Or we might die. Or we might die. All more days. But yeah, that's pretty big. And it's taken us quite a lot of time to already just do this part here. Eventually it's going to have to run all the way down to the ocean over there. And of course, I want some rivers connecting all through this savanna because if we're transforming it, there needs to be a new source of water. I guess we need to hydrate all of the area. So now that we've expanded the river further than expected, I do need to dig this part out a little bit more to give us some more space to work with, pretty much up to there. So I'm going to quickly do that and I'll see you guys in a second. So I've given it a little bit more space on this side, which I do have to detail, but I also need to figure out where this path is going to head up. Now I'm thinking of having the path come through here and then up this side to meet up to about here. The main road will be made out of stone and pretty much all the same blocks that we used on the main path through there. Now I'm going to grab a couple stacks of stone and dirt to kind of plan out how I want this to look, and I'm going to jump down and just start by digging this down to the right level. I'll also angle this out a little bit more, kind of like this, and just start getting some dirt in here to kind of create a nice pathway that reaches up to the top level that we're trying to reach. I don't want it to be super steep, so I'm trying to make it a little bit wider on each level, so roughly about 2 to 4 blocks between each step up, just so we can have a nice smooth incline, just like this. So you can now actually walk up to this level through here, instead of it just being a big stone wall. all, which means we can get rid of these blocks over here. Now, of course, this is another level here in between this level up here. So we need to make a little bit of a wider section here so that you can transition down this way to reach anything that we're going to put on this level. But you can also continue to probably about here where it's going to continue to allow you to walk up to the next level. There is a little bit of digging that we need to do on this level though, just so we can kind of get it looking right, because I didn't really dig much here. I kind of just did this little bit here and left the rest. As you can see, this is all just normal terrain here, which needs to be changed. But you can kind of see where this path is going to come from the bridge up this little slope here and then up again through this slope to reach up to this level here that we're creating and working on now, where the river is going to flow through. But you'll also be able to merge off here and go to this level, just like we've kind of done down here, where we've got some coarse dirt through here, and the coarse dirt over there will also wrap around to this level as well, but that'll be way off in the future. And I know I've said it already, probably a couple times in this episode, but this is definitely the most ambitious project that I've done in this entire world so far. I mean, this savanna biome is extremely expansive. It is huge and I want to feel it all. It is so nice finally being able to expand down this way, because like I said previously, I was a little bit concerned. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to make it look, how the terrain was going to flow, and how it was all going to come together and tie together in this huge world that we're creating. But as always, the hardest part is starting, and once you get started, at least for me, ideas generally start flowing. And as you can see here, the path now matches up to this level up here, which we do need to dig down a little bit more, but this is going to kind of curve over a little bit just like this and meet up very nicely right here. So I will just quickly dig down everything in front of here just to the right level so we can much more easily see kind of what we've just dug out. Oh my days, get out of here my boy. Once again, another entire shulker box filled to the brim of random stuff. My bee's just chilling here making honey. Now previously, every time I've built these mountainsides, especially for the large part over there, I've always built it with an indentation. So I always build the curves and things into the mountain like this. But I think I want to try something a little bit different for this area. I want to try building it out, make it seem like more natural generation, if that makes any sense. I think this is going to be nice, a nice difference to what we usually do. Now, once we get a bit more texture in here, it'll look better. Right now it's very basic, but I think it could end up looking pretty nice. I don't want to just do the same thing throughout the entire world. I want to keep certain areas very consistent. So obviously all the mountains around should be very similar, but as we move far away from this area over here, we can be a little bit more different, a little bit more creative with what we do, and maybe even potentially adding some grass blocks on top. Hold on a second, buddy. Get out of here. I'm not 100% sure if this dirt, or I guess grass block, once it grows over, will stay, but maybe we'll try something else. Maybe some green concrete powder, or even potentially some moss. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, I just want to get this mountainside in and done so we can see exactly how it's going to look with the path heading up the side there. And if we take a look in free cam mode, okay, yeah, that is so much better. Now you can see very clearly there is going to be a way for us to get up here with a path that's going to wrap around the side of this kind of indentation here up to the top and allow you to walk through the river, where we'll have more roads and paths heading throughout our hopefully sprawling farming village that we're about to create. Now that this part here is done and looking pretty good, it's time to move on to the next step, which is flattening the land and planning out the elevation that we want the river to follow. Like I said, we're going to go to about here just so we can keep within the map limits for now. The river will expand, of course, but I want to make sure that it looks good and we get the whole area looking fantastic before we start covering the entire thing, just in case there's some major changes. I don't really want to do the work twice. So I'm going to do some major earthworks over here and get it looking a lot better. Right now, it's pretty rough. Right now, we're working with a very harsh canvas, but it's time to make that canvas a little bit easier to deal with so we can start getting this savanna biome completely transformed into a much nicer area that fits in better with our world. So enjoy the time lapse. So I ended up doing a little bit more than I expected, and yeah, there's a lot of mobs over here. Okay, that was unnecessary. I didn't even have enough blocks to fix this right now, so that kind of just sucks. But anyway, my tools, especially my shovels, are completely broken, so I could really only get one side done. I'm gonna head to the end, fix my tools so I can go ahead and get this other side done, because It's going to be mostly shovel work. Then I'm going to go ahead and shape the riverbed to make sure it's all nice and ready for sand. Then I'm going to chuck in the sand until it finally meets up with the side, and then replace all the blocks beside the river with some moss. And luckily for you guys, that's not going to take too long because you get to watch it in a time lapse. But for the next few hours, I'm probably going to be absolutely going bonkers on this. So I guess enjoy the time lapse. And just like that, the river is in, and I went a little bit further than the edge of the map. The edge of the map is roughly about here, but I went a little bit further. And obviously in the future, this will expand all the way down until it meets up with the ocean all the way down there. But we got to work on all of this area before we expand this river down that way. So now we've got this river divided into 2 biomes. That means we can really start getting this biome changed over to look 150,000 times better, because right now it just looks horrible, orange and dead. But before we do that, we need to go ahead and detail the side of this river, because we can't just have moss. That looks a little bit weird. We got to get all these nice little details in. So I'm going to start by adding in the trees. I'm just going to add a few trees just along the edge. These trees aren't going to be too big. They're going to be very modest, you know, something little like this. And of course the leaves are going to be spruce and azalea. Now trees are a very easy way to add life to an area, and the savanna does have trees already, but they're pretty ugly. So once we continue expanding throughout the savanna and reclaiming the land and turning it into something more alive, luscious and beautiful, I'm going to be adding a huge amount of custom trees that are going to be green, just like the trees over there, not orange or brown like these trees. Of course, every single tree will be custom, and I'm going to try and practice creating some unique trees to add in, because right now I don't have many trees under my belt. It's not something I'm the best at creating, but for this project I want to try and learn at least 5 or so different types of trees that we can add in to the area just to fill it up and add in a bunch of green and just overall life to the area. Now I am running pretty low on these logs. I don't know if I'm going to have enough, but the thing is I do need to collect some azalea leaves anyway, so I'm going to have to plant a bunch of those trees and collect the leaves, so I might as well collect some extra oak logs while I'm there anyway. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Oh, we could die. We could die. I'm getting out of here. There's baby zombies everywhere. Oh my days. Oh my days. I need to regroup and try again. That was dangerous. I was just being picked apart then. Why are there so many baby zombies? There's like 4 of them over here. The only way to defeat baby zombies is water. They're useless in water. Bro, why is there so many baby zombies? What on earth? These zombies be getting freaky lately. Oh my days. There's babies everywhere. So I want one more tree, and I think this will be a nice amount of trees for us. And it looks like we might just have enough logs. Okay, that'll do. That's fine. Now, if we have a look from the sky, yeah, that's a good amount of trees. I don't want it to be too crazy and filled in. I think it looks a little bit weird right now, but once we get the leaves in, it's going to look so much better. So I guess I need to make sure that I've got enough shears. I don't actually know how many I've got. None. Okay, let's head back to the base so I can grab a bunch of shears. While I'm there, I'll grab a lot of our spruce leaves that we've got. I'm sure we've got plenty. Okay, maybe not as many as I thought. Not as many shears as I thought as well. Ooh, this could be risky. Okay, I got a little bit of iron. How much iron do I have in all of my chests? I've got 18 raw iron, so that should do us. I'll just make sure to bring down the stuff for a furnace so we can get that stuff smelting up. So let's head back and get our hands on some extra azalea leaves. Wow, that looks so different now with the river. Look at that. That is such a huge expansion. Oh my days. This place is going to look so crazy once we get it really going. So I'm just going to create, I don't need this many furnaces, but I mean, why not? It doesn't hurt. And I'll chuck the iron in there, temporarily put the spruce leaves in here and a bunch of stuff we don't really need. And now it's time to create a bunch of azalea trees. I also want to make sure I collect the rooted dirt because I use so much rooted dirt. I love it, but it's so hard to come by. So we have 3 shears and look how big these trees are. Look how easy this is going to be. We just go in a straight line. Oh my days, that's beautiful. Guys, look how easy this is. This is insane. Oh, I should do this one or the leaves are going to decay. I'm not going to bother going in between the trees. I'll just chop the logs and the rest of the leaves will decay themselves. And look how easy this is. This is so good. I didn't know it was this easy to get azalea leaves. I was thinking this was going to going to take ages. But I was very wrong. From one round, we got pretty much 5 or 6 stacks. Nope, that's definitely 5. 5 stacks of leaves and 52 oak logs. That's not too bad at all. Now I'm going to place these with an offset of 1 just to make sure we get some extra rooted dirt from it. And then I'll just do the exact same thing. Just a straight line, collecting all the leaves that I can get. Well, at least a good amount. We're not going too crazy. We don't want to spend too much time on this because we are on day 451. So we're halfway through the next 100 days, and I think we're pretty much on track for this to be one of the best 100 days so far. I mean, we've just done so much. We built this huge lighthouse here, this massive fishing dock, and we built the horse stables and expanded the cow farm. And now we've done all of this, all in just 51 days. That is crazy. I think the difference between day 400 and day 500 is going to be so insane. It's going to be unbelievable. But of course, I've been trying to make sure that I do not waste a single second of time. And I think it's paying off. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, let's just do it again. Once again, 1 offset and just bone meal all these bad boys all the way up. You're gonna need some more shears. Another 3 will do us. I feel like that'll be plenty. I feel like we might even have enough now, but there's no harm in getting a little bit of extra. You know, we're gonna be using it a lot, especially into Savannah. I feel like there's going to be a lot of azalea tree harvesting going on. It's going to be an entire operation. All right, and that was the final pair of shears done. So now we can't really do any more. I mean, I could make more shears, but we have plenty of leaves. Way more than enough. So I'll chop these logs down and we'll go ahead and start placing them in. I'll leave the rooted dirt here for now. We don't need it at this very moment. We did get quite a lot of logs, so that's pretty nice. Let me grab up all the spruce leaves that I've got. Okay, I don't have many, which is a bit of a problem. Do I have some in this village over here? I feel like I could. Oh, I've got a stack and 13. Okay, that should be enough, but we're definitely going to need to get our hands on some more spruce leaves. That is for sure. So I'll grab up some scaffolding. I don't have scaffolding. Oh my days. Where has more scaffolding gone? Okay, that is incredibly annoying. My scaffolding is not here. So I'm going to have to build up to the top of these trees. Not a huge problem, but you know, it's going to make it a little bit slower. That's fine. Let's place these in. Now, remember, this side, as you can see, is a savanna, and these leaves are as green as ever, which means that our restoration project is definitely working. I wonder if I can jump across to that one. That's pretty far away. Let's try. Oh. Yeah, look at that. Oh my days. That's how you do it in Australia, mate. Now, the goal with this whole project is to make sure that it is impossible to tell that this biome is even a savanna. I want it to be unrecognizable. I mean, right now you can clearly tell that is definitely a savanna. But if you look in this tiny spot here, I mean, don't look at the grass behind it, but you can not really tell. These trees do not look like they're on the inside of a savanna biome at all, which is absolutely fantastic. Oh my god, we made it across to this one. That is the play of the day. Oh, I fell down. Okay, that sucks, man. All right. Let me just go ahead and finish up all these trees and I'll see you when I'm done. So I finished adding in all of these leaves and the trees are now full, luscious, delicious and voluptuous. Now, if you have a look at this, it still looks very bland, but don't worry, I know exactly how to fix this up. So obviously there needs to be some roads. We need to add in all the details into here because it's just moss and we need to get some things around. So I'm going to do that once again in the form of a time lapse for you guys because I know how much you guys love it. But I'm going to give an explanation in the time lapse, so I will see you guys over there. So I started by adding details along the rest of the river just like I did at the start. I then planned out where the main road would lead using stone, andesite, stone bricks and polished andesite to texture the road. I created a nice little bridge across the river to connect the main road to the other side and created a section where the main road splits into 2. Once the main roads were all in, I added a bunch of smaller roads using coarse dirt instead, since these roads would be connecting smaller builds and parts of the area to the main road. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looked like before we did all of that work, and this is what it looks like now. Such a huge difference. Now, I know all we really did was separate the 2 biomes, but that was such a crucial step and honestly the most important step in this whole thing. We needed to make sure that the separation between the 2 biomes was indistinguishable. You could not tell. And honestly, with this river now, we have the template to use to continue all the way down, in the future of course, but most importantly, this area is now set up to be expanded upon. And with this huge expansion now complete. Expanding in this area is going to be so easy. Like I said at the start of this episode, once you start a project, ideas start to flow. So now that we have this kind of thing set up and it's looking so incredible, oh my days, it's going to be so easy to be able to come up with ideas for how this place can change. And of course, if you guys have any ideas, make sure to let me know in the comments. I read all of the comments. It can be hard to reply to all of them just because there's just so many of them across all of the videos, but I definitely do at least read them all. Now, I do want to build a huge mountain range through here somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where or how we're going to do that just yet, but I know that I definitely want to do that. And for the next stage of this project, I want to expand it this way towards the edge where this river is and just get this river kind of fixed up. So then this entire side here is all done. And we could pretty much get the mountainside just behind me also complete. So then this entire area is like a huge circle. So there's not this big spot like here that isn't done. Let me just quickly land so I can show a bit easier. So obviously there's two major areas that we've got in this world. We've got this one over here, which is absolutely enormous. And then we've got this one over here, which is growing rapidly. But there is a big weird spot in the middle that is just not complete. So I feel like if we expand this through to the left here and meet up to this big river here and get the side of this mountain done, we can have this entire thing feel like it's fully connected. And of course, start getting this savanna completely transformed into something that doesn't look so disgusting. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. We're now on day 457, so it took quite a long time to do this part, but it turned out so good. I'm so happy. Look at that river behind us. It looks so good. We do still need to expand it to this river, but I need to fix up this area first. I don't even know what's going on in here. It's definitely got to be changed, but it will be changed very soon. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you so much. And as always, until next time, peace out.